think I intimated it in a previous video when I was talking about cooling of the automatic transmission fluid, particularly when I'm towing our caravan. I've ordered a high capacity cast aluminium sump. Well, this is the cast aluminium sump that Wholesale Automatic Transmission sent to me, made in USA. It's actually pretty heavy, pretty solid bit of kit, and you can see it looks quite a bit deeper than the middle one. The middle one's probably about maybe that deep, maybe. Some air fins on it too, so that might help cool it, so they say. Some instructions and some new bolts in there, and a gasket. Cost $698.68 plus $47.50 freight. Well, you'd think that swapping out the transmission pan would be an easy job. Transfer case protection plate, just rip that off. 3 14mm bolts. I'll show you the pan shortly. At the back of the pan here, there's 4 bolts. I think they're about 8 or 10mm. On a 200 series, you can get into them, but on this, with the conversion, they're up above the cross member. I could gin around, I reckon, probably get maybe 3 of them out, maybe 4 of them. Be a pain in the arse, and the propeller shaft there is really close, and I think that the pan has actually been dinged in a little bit because I can't get a socket on it. So I'm just going to make my life a whole bunch easier. A bit more complex, but easier. I'm going to take the cross member off. So apart from that transfer case bash plate, 3 bolts, 4 bolts either side. I've got a jack and a brick, piece of timber. I'm going to stick them up there. And I'll have to undo the 2 bolts for the transmission or transfer case mount as well. And I just dropped that cross member off. Well, cross member off. Let's have a closer look now. It's one of those 4 bolts. Second bolt in there where my fingers are, 3rd bolt, and 4th bolt on the other side, and it's really close to the propeller shaft. I don't know if you can see that. It's going to be interesting to see how the new pan fits up in there. Yeah, I've got 2 bottle jacks in here. I'm going to have to take that one out, of course. What I'm going to do is undo those 4 back bolts first, and I'm going to put in the cross member again, just to hold the gearbox and stuff up. I'll just put in 2 bolts each side, and I won't worry about doing these 2 bolts up. But I'll keep this jack in here. Oh, you would have seen we've got those 4 bolts out. With the help of a little bit of chisel and hammer. I'll show you the pan when I get it off. And I've put the cross member back on and remove the front bottle jack. Most of the weight's still on this rear bottle jack, and you can see there's a gap there between the rear mount and the transfer case, or the rear mount and the cross member, I should say. So what I'm going to do now is drain the oil, which is pretty boring stuff, but I'm going to let that drain a while. Well, I expected it to make a whole bunch more mess than it did, but it came off pretty well alright. I moved the drip pan around that way because the oil was dripping along the cross member. I'm not going to do much more than that. Take the pan away. Make sure the new pan fits in with that cross member there. Well, it's sort of what I expected. The pan's going to hit the flange on the transfer case there, just up here. So what I'm going to do is take a little bit off the pan. I'm going to take it off with that just straight all the way to the end there, and probably do the same that way as well. Trimmed up. See the old one, or the other side. Used file and angle grinder. Angle grinder to get most of it, then a file. Wrapped up, upside down. Just clean it off with some brake clean. Gonna check, make sure it fits first again, then I'll give it another good clean. Well, it does fit on, but the clearance between, I reckon, about here and the front propeller shaft flange is just a bit too close. So I'm actually going to take a little bit more out here. Well, that's a bit more. You can see a little bit more pronounced in there. Make sure there's no lip on it. Well, I'm happy with the fitment on that. Actually have a nice clearance there, certainly a lot more clearance than there was in the original pan. Going to get a good flogging with brake clean rag. Well, I'll get a clean rag, wipe it out. Now I'm going to put a smear of gasket sealant on the pan, put the cork on it, and a smear on the transmission body as well. That's the gasket that comes with the pan kit. Just take a smear of gasket goop in there, as I said I was going to do. It's more about holding the gasket in place while I put the pan on than anything else. Gasket only goes on one way. How do I know? You might see some gasket goop on this. Put it on the wrong way to start off with. Anyhow, that's held in place now. Go under there and clean up the transmission mating surface and put a little bit of goop on it as well. The kit comes with new bolts with hex head bolts and flat washers, so don't use the old washers. Comes with a new bung, tapered thread. It says to put some tape thread on it, so I've done that. Got all the front bolts in, sort of finger tight, and I've taken the cross member back off. Got one of the back bolts in. Little screwdriver I'm going to use just to try and get the gasket lined up. I think the pan's moved a little bit. Just a pain in the ass. Might have to drop the weight off that bowl jack a bit. Just be careful. The other two holes, they're sort of blocked up with the gasket as well, so could do some manoeuvring here. Show you that gap there. It's pretty close, but I think it's better than it was. This is where I was having problems there. See that little pink line? That's the flange for the uni joint. 14 foot-pound. It's about what I've done them up to, between 12 and 14. And I had to take that supporting bottle jack off. I couldn't get in under here, so I had to move the pan out a little bit. But I've got them all in now. What I probably should have done is right up in there, between the pan and the, I suppose, the front of the transfer case adapter, there's a bit of silicon sealant there, and I'm hopefully not sitting proud on that. Guess we'll find out if it pisses out oil everywhere, eh? Cross member back on now, and then I can stick the bash plate back on and we can talk about oil. A few videos around about the AB60 and refilling them. What I've learnt is it seems like you need to check the level when the oil is warm. Debatable about what temperature that means and how you measure it, and how much fluid you use and what sort of fluid you should use. But anyhow, this is what I'm doing. The little bung that's up in here, that's the fill hole. Well, that's the level hole, I should say. Fill holes, passenger side. Everything you read talks about 24mm bung, 15/16. Found fitted better. So the transmissions are reasonably cold now anyhow, and because I'm not using the same oil that I had. Just going to fill it up until it starts coming out of that hole. Put the bung in, put a little bit more oil in. I'm going to take it for a drive then, and I'm going to monitor the temperature on the set up the wholesale automatic transmissions installed with the conversion. It measures, from I understand, the pan temperature oil, and I'm going to get it up to about 45, hopefully, degrees centigrade. Then I'm going to check the oil level again whilst the car's in neutral and running. The idea is that if it's over full, it'll empty out. If it's not full enough, I'll put some more oil in. And I was getting worried. Just over 5 litres took with the new pan. Got to get this bung in now. Transmission temperature there says 38, so I want to get it up about another 7 degrees. It was about 36 and went down to 32 when I started it up. It's been idling here for a few minutes now. Just going to go around the block, as I say, till I get it up to about 45 degrees now. I've got the torque converter lock up on too, just to try and make sure we don't get any hotter. Got 47 degrees there, so I'm going to get under there now and have a look. Better pull the bung out. Stuck about another half a litre of oil in, so I'll see how we go. I think I'll just probably cycle through the gears this time. Just come back up to 45. Back under again, still 45. Hopefully it won't drop the bung in the bucket. A bit more oil in, and French tips up to 46. Gotta swap hands here. Well, I've lost count how many times this is. I think it's 3rd or 4th time. That's just getting messier and messier under here. That's better. Now I'm going to drop that until it stops pouring out. Well, it goes to a fine dribble. About there. Yeah, had to put you down so I could get the bung in. Anyhow, I think the idea is to make sure you overfill it. Don't overfill it too much, obviously, and let it drain back out until there's just a really small stream of oil coming out. Transmission temperature was 46 degrees, so I'm pretty happy with that. I'll tighten up that level bung and the fill bung, make sure they're tight. Take it out the front, give it a wash. This is the oil I use, Penrite Multi-Vehicle Full Synthetic ATFLV. It's got Toyota World Standard, and I've used 4, 5, about 7 litres of oil. Now I know you'll find this hard to believe, but in my haste yesterday I forgot to Loctite all those pan bolts in, the new pan bolts. So I did that this morning, took the cross member off and ripped them all out. Now the specs for the pan say that you should do the pan bolts 6 to 8 foot-pound, but I've still done it with a 12 foot-pound with Loctite 243, and the drain plug is 20 foot-pound. I also mentioned that I'd show you the pan where it'd been bashed in. That's it there. Looks like it's been bashed in with a hammer. You know, I had to bash that out with a chisel just so I could get the 10mm bolt off.